Welcome everybody to our Mastering 90 webinar, Essential Concepts and Skills. I'm your host, Nathan, and Jim here is our co-host here too as well. Also our guest speaker, Insider Coach. So just give you a heads up, we're gonna take an hour to talk about the meeting aspect, the meeting tool here. So he's gonna give us an insight to the tool and just give you a heads up. Let me go to my next slide here. I hope everyone can see my screen. You can see my screen, right, Jim?
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. So just give you a heads up, 90 is a revolutionary cloud-based software providing small to mid-sized companies with the core tools needed to grow and thrive. So that just said 90's platform integrates data, processes, and people into one comprehensive system so you can achieve your short and also your long-term goals while still accelerating your company's vision. So just give you all a heads up, I'm going to introduce myself because I didn't do that. I am the senior software trainer here. I've been with 90 since 2021. It's about to be 2 years here pretty soon. Time is flying by, and I've been using the same, using multiple BOSs. BOS is business operating systems, by the way, if you didn't know what that was. But Pinnacle, EOS, 90, the list goes on. So if you are admin on the account, you can definitely change your languages to something your organization may recognize. So maybe we'll go through that too if we have time, but just give you a heads up. I've also been a client success manager, so I transitioned to the educational field, and that's why we're here talking here and learn a little bit more information about the field here in the system. On a personal level, our organization is hosting an internal virtual race, and as of now, I'm in first place. I'm just going to put that out there. Trying to maintain.
Is that right? Oh,
yeah, I'm in first place.
Good for you.
Have my little head on there floating. I'm like, oh shoot, I'm in first place. Anyway, trying to maintain 3 miles is not as easy as I thought it would be, because I get up early in the morning to go running, and I realized I don't like running. Anyway,
it does make it harder. All right. Now you know. Now you know.
I mean, it's fun though. So Jim Havlin is our internal coach here, and he's our value speaker. So he'll be sharing his insights and also the strategies to assist us with creating a compelling vision that's going to motivate and propel your business towards progress. So Jim, I'll give you the floor.
Focus, align, and thrive. That we're trying to get to. Right. Yeah, thanks, Nathan. You know, I'm excited to have this conversation because I think we describe all my clients and all the clients that we talk to at 90. We're trying to come up with the culture of healthy accountability. I think it's where that's one thing we all have in common. We're trying to get to the place where we're moving forward, but I describe it as a culture of healthy accountability. We know that any culture can be described as a set of rituals, artifacts, and language. We know a lot about the language. We call things very specific things, but meetings is really all about the rituals. These are the rituals of the business. And if we treat them as such, as opposed to something we throw away and just like, oh yeah, I got a meeting, never mind, I'll eat my lunch while I'm having my meeting. Forget about that. The rituals of the business are the meeting. So we have to take that seriously. I'm here today coming to you from University Lab Partners at the University of California, Irvine campus. They got 25 businesses all here trying to run better businesses, trying to grow. And even ULP is growing because they're running great meetings. They're having a great experience, having structure as they grow. So lots of things to be learned here. I can't wait to get into the content, my friend.
Thanks. And just give you a heads up before we actually get started, let you know, meetings, they play a crucial role in the collaboration and also the decision-making process with organizations. Okay, so just yours. So, however, poorly executed meetings can be unproductive, time-consuming, and demotivating for participants. So this discussion is going to aim towards exploring those 3 critical topics for running better meetings in the software and focusing on enhancing the efficiency and also the productivity. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this real quick. All right, so
yeah, so then this is the thing. So we think about running a good meeting, and you gave some good topics there. For running a great meeting, they can be unproductive. So how do we make them productive? How do we make sure that they're well structured so that that we know what we're getting done? Those are all great things, the very basics of having a good meeting. But then we really want to get to the place where, as an organization, we have a meeting discipline. We have some shared concepts of how we go about putting together meetings. When we're getting together, this is what's going to happen. And every time, and it should happen pretty much every time. Occasionally, there's going to be ad hoc little conversations, but we're really the structure of our meetings and when we do meetings and when we don't do meetings, it should be part of trying to become a very productive organization and keep everybody really motivated. So meetings are unavoidable. We really want to be able to make great decisions there. Because if we don't, we know, and you've had this experience too, Nathan, where you go to a meeting, it should have been an email. You go to a meeting that I don't know why I'm there. You go to a meeting and it's really about someone reading a book report. I mean,
Right.
these are not good uses of time, and they're not motivating. It doesn't really build alignment. It actually builds frustration. So we want to avoid all of that. So coming up with a meeting discipline, where everyone knows not to have those meetings. Some people, even well-intentioned people will put together a bad meeting, Nathan.
Right.
We want to love them all the way to having good meetings. So let's figure out what that looks like. Let's keep going.
Hey, I definitely dread going to meetings sometimes, depending on what it was. And I'm like, man, why am I here? Why am I burning all my time here? I can be doing something else productive. So we want to give you that shot to really set those clear objectives and agendas too as well. So
and what the people that follow the process we're going to talk about today end up saying, I love my meetings. I want to, I love to go to those meetings. I have it reestablished on a regular basis where clients are telling me, at first, all of this structure was a problem for me. Now I see, otherwise I was wasting my time. So let's go on. Next slide.
All right, next slide here.
Get to the fun stuff.
And before you get started here, I want to let everyone know too, this is going to be a two-way conversation, or three-way conversation. It's not just me and Jim talking here. If you have questions, there is a Q&A box too that I'm monitoring. So ask those questions as we dive into the software or whatever come at your way, and I'll see I can address them for you too as well here. So, all right.
Thanks, Nathan. I appreciate it. So let's first about any meeting you're going to throw. So if you're just talking about one meeting, you got to have clear objectives and agenda. And one of the things that we know, and I'll reiterate this as we go through and we have some examples, if I don't have objectives and agenda, then I don't know if I'm going to get what I want out of the meeting. People should, at the very beginning, having an agenda ahead of time, and having a consistent agenda, by the way, is part of that discipline. If I have an agenda and I have some objectives, I can get agreement at the beginning of the meeting. And it's almost always the first thing we want to do. Hey guys, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. These are objectives. These are things we're trying to get done. This is why I've gathered you all here together. And here's how I think we're going to go through the process. What we say quite often is that, hey, we're objective driven, not agenda driven as much as possible, because the objectives are the point. And if the agenda doesn't serve the objectives, heck with the agenda. We're going to move on. They're like, we got to come up with this. So the first thing we want to do is always establish that agreement with the room. Do we all agree why we're here and how we're going to go about doing the work that we have over this next half hour, an hour, 5 hours, or 8 hours? Every meeting I throw, Nathan has those at the beginning. You've got to spend, if you invited people to the meeting, you've got to make sure you're encouraging active participation and collaboration. And let's talk about those two things separately. Participation. Everybody should have a chance to speak their mind. If you're invited to the meeting, it's because you want to hear what they have to say. And so if you're facilitating the meeting, if you're running the meeting, you got to make sure everyone has spoken their mind. Because if you let them walk out of there just because they were, Nathan, not everyone's as talky as me. I know this. So when I go to a meeting, I know even the quietest person I invited to that meeting has something that they have to contribute. They have something they can add that's really valuable. That's why they're there. So it's up to me to make sure that I pull out of them the reason that they were there, right?
Right.
And the collaboration part is separate. So collaboration is about helping manage how everyone speaks in the room, having some established methodology where we say, hey, we don't speak that way. And one of the things we talk about, so we want people to say rude things. We don't want people to shut other people down. So we say a couple of things. We say we want everyone to come into the meeting with open, honest, and vulnerable. So let's be open. Let's be open to new ideas. Let's know that that's why we're here. That's what collaboration looks and feels like. Let's be honest. Let's only speak truths that we know to be true. And then vulnerable. I have to be willing to hear the fact that maybe I'm not holding all my agreements and I'm not being nice. The other one we talk about is TSP, truthful, specific, and positive. When I go into the meeting, I want to make sure that, hey, when I talk about something, I need to be able to be truthful. So I should only speak about things I really know. But I could also be truthful about saying, hey, I heard this. I don't know this to be true, but this is something that maybe we want to consider or dispel before we go on. Specific examples of things that giving someone feedback. Let me just, hey, Nathan, I think that you spend too much time slurring your words. Let me give you some examples. Now, here's the example. I'm going to give you 3 examples of it, but if it's negative things, so you can actually own it. So we're not just, I'm not just being mean. I'm actually directly talking about something that's very real. You don't slur your words, though.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering, like, because I saw a carboholic on my shirt. Like, okay, what are you trying to say?
If I were going to say that, I would say, hey, man, here's 3 examples where you were slurring your words. Speak up. But you don't. You do a great job. And then assume positive intent, right? So, hey, Nathan, I'm assuming that you wanted to have a great meeting today, but when you come to the meeting and you're wearing that big floppy hat that makes me laugh, I can't really concentrate. So thanks for not wearing your big floppy hat. So the truth is positive. That's encouraging active participation and collaboration. Then implementing effective meetings, facilitation and time management. Know that meetings are part of our world. We have to have meetings. We all have to be in charge of doing a better and better job of participating in meetings and facilitating meetings. So if you're facilitating the meeting, you're encouraging everyone to have active participation and collaboration. You're setting a clear agenda, having objectives, and you're managing the time to make sure we're not going overtime and we're time boxing appropriately. So that's any meeting anyone's going to have, my friend. These are great things. And luckily, we're going to go over 90 in a little bit and see exactly how we help with these things throwing a meeting. But let's move on to the next one.
All right, sounds good.
Having a great meeting discipline is the step above that. And that is part of having consistency. So if I'm going to be really great at running meetings, and we all want to be great at participating in meetings, we have to have meetings. Let's be better and better at it. Let's be really good at it. We should have a consistent approach to them, so I have a chance to be good at it. If you come at it with surprises all the time, holy mackerel, I'm not going to be able to be good at that. I'm going to put back on my heels. So that's why we really encourage people to have consistent meetings. Not, hey, you can't vary from this very script, from this formula, right? But like EOS and all the other business operating systems, 90 OS, they all have prescribed ways that you should run your meetings, but then ways of thinking about, well, when would I make changes? When would I adopt what is the thought process around going to something else? Like, hey, 90 minutes isn't enough for us. We need 2 hours because we're going through this big change. Or hey, we're a department, we don't need 90 minutes. We only need 60 minutes. So it's not a matter of being rigid. It's about being consistent. So being consistent is an important part of this one. Structure is about making sure that I have the right kinds of meetings and they're structured the right way, the right times with the right people to get the right things, right questions answered, and asking the right questions in those meetings. So what are the sections of the meeting such that I'm considering the right things? Every one of the tools that we use in our operating system have some disciplines around with them that include, hey, when do we go back and ask about this? When do we consider this? Right? Like the notion of having short-term issues and long-term issues. Short-term issues are for some things that have to be addressed this quarter. That's why they come up in the weekly meeting. And so if it's not urgent and important for this quarter, we have another compartment to put it into. We have the long-term issues list to put it in, and we'll look at those at our quarterly. So nothing gets lost. I have confidence. I can just focus on what's urgent and important by knowing that, hey, you know what? That's a great idea, Nathan, but can we look at that next quarter? Because I don't think we're going to have time to do that well this quarter. And you'll say, sure, Jim, because I know that it's going to go on the quarterly agenda and we'll have a chance to prioritize that. Okay, that's 2. Consistency, structure, preparation. Everyone that comes through 90, I have a chance to work with them and teach them some of our principles around business operating systems. And I encourage them all to come to their meetings prepared. If I have a consistent set of meetings and they're consistently structured, then I can prepare for it, Nathan. I can know what's coming and I can be prepared for it. And that includes things like, hey, I know I'm going to do a quarterly meeting. I'm going to go in and talk about what's my personal professional best for the last 90 days. That is a great thing to do. It's a great part of the meeting. It's there for a very specific reason, not just for me to chatter, but for me to actually build some team health and to share the things that I think are really important. So really, building connection. And I can prepare for that ahead of time. I can think about things that have happened. What's the most impactful thing I could say? Especially if I'm a leader, I should be able to say, what's the thing I could say that would really help me call out the things about my team members that I really appreciate. Those are all great things to think about, but you also want to be physically and tactically and mentally prepared. So like getting a good night's sleep before an all-day meeting, you got to prepare for it. Last one, participation. Everyone's got to manage the energy in the room, and you want to have things to do in your meeting to help with that. So when's our rules about when we take breaks? We don't want, we won't want to be too structured with that, but want to make sure that we're teaching everyone to be to know that they should speak up, but we're also all looking for each other's participation. That's part of the having a discipline of it. It's on everybody to realize, oh my God, we haven't heard from Nathan in 20 minutes. Nathan, don't you have an opinion on this? What are you thinking about this, Nathan? I'd love to hear your insights on this. And because quite often people just don't feel comfortable in the moment for whatever reason. I know you can be bashful sometimes, Nathan. So it's on all of us to be, and we're great team members, to make sure that, hey, bashful, come on, man, we want to hear what you're saying. So here we go, 4 disciplines to add to not only have one great meeting, but have consistently great meetings.
Right.
And once again, we go over to 90. I'm going to show you where all these things are in them.
All right, and one to just piggyback off that, you brought up a valuable point yesterday, actually, when you was talking about participation and how everyone should be having their cameras on, looking directly at each other.
Yes.
Even though they may not be staring at each other, we want to hear the sound, we want to hear dogs barking in the background. We want to have it like this, that live feeling. And the participation can change varying on, the location. So you may be there in person, you may be there virtually. So
I know it's made a lot of people uncomfortable, but a lot of the leaders that I end up coaching, they say, Jim, I'm really struggling with meetings now that we're doing a lot of these Zoom meetings. I said, well, do you have all the cameras on and microphones open? And they go, oh no. So, well, then it's not a meeting then.
Right.
It's a webinar. It's a television show. I mean, you gotta, make it a meeting. Like, we're all in the same room, and if I have an offhanded comment, I can make it. I don't have to reach for a button, and then you're not going to get that kind of interaction unless you have everything open, free, clear. Open, honest, and vulnerable includes being open in the microphone and video. Right. So prepare for the meeting, get yourself in a good place so you can really focus and really be present. Because that's what we're asking of each other. That's how we honor each other's time, is by being truly present in the meeting. If I don't know that you're on camera, I'm wondering are you really paying attention? How many meetings you've been in where someone's off camera and you're going, hey, did you hear that? Because I don't know.
Right. You have social cues. Yeah.
Humans know how to interact with each other's faces. I don't know. It's an evolutionary thing. We know we're expecting to see eyes. We're expecting to see faces. We're going to key on that. It's a little bit more exhausting because we're closer to each other from a proximity standpoint when we're all in Zoom. Like, I wouldn't be this close to you, Nathan, together. Not normally, right? Nothing we should talk about anyway. It's all right, guys. We've gone out and we've sung together. So we've been very, very close around a microphone, haven't we?
Yeah.
But in a meeting, we wouldn't normally be this close. We'd be further back, and that could be exhausting for people. So you take more breaks, but that's how you're managing energy in the room. Let's get the right energy at the right time and manage it well.
Right.
I appreciate that, Nathan. Because I was sitting about it.
If you want to jump into the actual 90 software, or you want to go to the next slide?
We can go a little bit. Let's go look at some stuff, then we'll come back and we'll talk about the other stuff.
All right. So just give everyone's heads up, this is the meeting space. And if you aren't familiar with navigating this particular area, and down at the very bottom left-hand corner, you have the expand toolbar. It may look like this for you. For me, I have always closed up, so I just have the icons here. But essentially, if you want to get your meetings, this is where it's going to be located at. Managers and above have the ability to create additional meetings and add those existing users to the team. Admins and owners, their permission is a little bit different, where they can add brand new users to their team. Once you add them to the team, you give them all the ability to see all the information associated with that team, so they can see everyone's to-dos, issues, whatever the case may be, as long as their name is in that seat. Just give you a heads up. All right. So
I like our icon because it's a little voice box, but it's got bullet points. Right. So it's a well-structured conversation.
So you can kind of see the agenda there. I see it going on there. So we're going to create a meeting, a department meeting, and show you how that's run by managing the space and making different changes to it. So just to give you a heads up, we'll start here in the top right-hand corner, actually bottom left-hand corner. Let me go ahead and expand my toolbar. Remember, your permission settings will let you create these meetings. I'm gonna go ahead and click settings here. And then from this location, I'm gonna click on to the teams, okay? So once you're in this location, you can create your team. Now, top right-hand corner, you're gonna have create team as an icon here. If you click there, this will allow you to create your team. Don't get confused with create there in the top right-hand corner, because then you're creating accountabilities like to-dos and issues, things like that. So we're gonna go ahead and create a team, and we're gonna name this team. What do you want to call it, Jim?
Team Awesome, or
all right,
awesome
Team Awesome.
Team Awesome. All right, there we go.
All right, we'll put an exclamation point there. Now I won't get that. I won't get too
and every
excited.
team, I think it's great to point out here is that the leadership team, when you first start the account, you get the leadership team, because that's where most people start. Let's put the leadership team in the software, and it's got a bunch of meetings already built into it. When you do saying you create a team, let's go ahead and create that.
All right, I'm adding myself as a team member here. This allows me to add additional users too as well. Oh snap! Let me hit this reload button real quick. All right, there it is, Team Awesome. All right, so right now, just to give you a heads up, you have this LT here, you have project and private. If I don't check any of these items here, that leaves it at the departmental team, allowing me to have my own traction piece with the my own BTO associated with my team there. Just
that's right. I mean, so it's an interesting thing from a structural perspective. I mean, we do this a lot at 90. All the departments have their own teams, and all the way down through the organization. But then we have a lot of project teams as well. We're going to go do something. We're going to all be working together. We don't really have a long-term vision for that team. It's not really the point. It's about to go do something. So it's going to have a set of meetings. It's going to have some. It could take rocks maybe, or see rocks from other teams. We also have a lot of one-to-one teams inside 90. So you get, if you're meeting with a direct report, or it's just somebody that you want to keep sync with on a regular basis. You have that team, and that could be a private team, like nobody else can see that but the people in it. So you have a lot of flexibility with teams, and you can have, how many teams can you have, Nathan?
You can have as many as you would like. So
that's right, infinite teams. No one's actually tried to have infinite teams yet, but there's no logical boundary on how many teams you can have.
It's a number to reach. All right. So now I'm going to click onto the actual title there, and it's going to open up the settings so I can add additional team members. So I'm not Team Awesome by myself. I'm going to hit the silhouette there, and I'm going to add Jim to this particular team. Click OK, and now he has access to this particular location where he can create his own accountabilities, like to-dos and issues to fall into that location. Okay.
And you know what? How I feel about that? I feel awesome. That's how I feel.
I hope you do. This is Team Awesome. All right, so I'm gonna get this close button here, and now our team is created. So we're gonna jump back into the meeting section, and we're gonna start structuring the meeting. So I'm gonna click meetings here, bring us back to this landing location. And remember, if you have multiple teams, you want to filter it out. So in the top left-hand corner, you have this filters feature. I'm gonna hit the drop-down menu and jump down into Team Awesome, okay? Now this is gonna give me the ability to actually change the agenda here. I'm gonna come over here to the top right-hand corner. Remember, managers have the ability to do this if you own this particular meeting. Click there, and it's gonna give me my agenda, okay?
Yeah, once you click on the number of agendas you guys, so every team, depending on your operating system, is going to automatically have the default team agendas in there. So this is the weekly meeting. If you were running on EOS, this would be the level 10 meeting, so on and so forth. There's lots of other operating systems. And if your operating system includes things like a monthly meeting or a daily stand-up, or if you create that as a standard for your company, those all show up automatically whenever you go create a new team. So it's pretty cool. So you've already got a bunch of things going on in here, but let's build the perfect weekly meeting agenda for the awesome team. What do you think?
All right, let's do that. So here you can change out the agenda name. So say, for example, this word is kind of hard to say, segue. No one says it right. So I don't even know if I'm saying it right, to be honest, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn this to awesome facts or something like that. So you can change things to whatever you want. You can change the duration of there too as well. And this table plays a vital role. So if you do have a lot of people in a specific team, say for example, we all spend maybe 10 minutes in this location because we may have like 20 people here, or Jim likes to talk to as well. So we may want to add like maybe 10 minutes to that location, right? A lot of times too, we don't have specific items in those teams as well. So say for example, we're not dealing with any scorecard measurables. Maybe you don't have a data section there. So we can come over here to the right-hand side and take that part of the agenda out, okay? Just keep in mind that you are managing the time in your meetings as well. So at the very bottom right-hand corner, there's a total duration for the time that you want to spend there. And as a facilitator of the meeting, you're managing that time to ensure that we are hitting the spot and make sure we're not going on tangents too, if possible, okay?
There you go. I love it.
All right, awesome. So that being said, you can add specific pages to your agenda as well. So here, if you do have a high priority meeting, like a departmental team, you have the opportunity to add that vision into this location if necessary. But if you want to take it a step further, maybe you have some spreadsheets you want to bring into it, or a website for that matter, or even customize the agenda for that matter. We can add a custom section to this location. So once I click add custom section here, it's going to open up this red box here, and I want to title it to whatever I want. So maybe I'll put in here, awesome. Everything starts with awesome. I don't know why I'm yelling here, but awesome website, right? Put an awesome website in there. So that's going to be the title there. And then we're going to have a 5-minute duration in that spill. Now, that being said, this is the website. So I'm going to add some additional information here, like the URL. So in the top right-hand corner, I'll just type in here https://90.io, because we're pretty awesome here. Now, before you do anything, make sure you check the URL and ensure that it works. If you see it populates there, you are good to go, and everyone can go and look at this page. It will be interactive within your meeting too as well. Same thing goes for your spreadsheets too. Okay, coming down a little bit further, you have this rich text editor where you can actually make things for your team stand out. So say, for example, we'll just reiterate this one, awesome. Awesome-o. I don't know how to, hold on, get in there, come on, fingers. Awesome website. All right, come on now. There it is. Awesome website. And you can really build this information out. So you can bold it if you want. You can actually go into these more text reference here and change the font size if you want to do that. You can really make it really nice and clean. You can change the color too as well. Awesome, going to stand out there in red. And you can do whatever you want to this location to really make it pretty for everyone to kind of get away from the traditional agenda.
And the discipline here is, hey, especially when you get down to department meetings, you're going to have other resources that you go to be able to ask the right questions, right? We said that was an important part of having, if you're meeting discipline, is making sure you're considering all the right things at a time. So if you're the marketing team, or you're the sales team, or you're the finance team, there's going to be another set of software you use to make decisions on a regular basis, and some things you're going to look at, like maybe a report that you're going to look at as part of your standard meeting practice. I run a team that uses HubSpot to keep track of all the people we're talking to. So there's a couple of reports from HubSpot that we drop right into the meeting, and then we use the text section to say, what are the questions we're asking? To remind ourselves that, give us prompts. What are the things we want to know about when we're looking at this resource, right? So that, so even if I win the lottery or get abducted by aliens, my team will still know how to run that meeting, because they know they had how to ask the right questions against that resource when it comes up in the meeting.
Right. All right. So that being said, this information is locked into place. So I want to drag this information to where I see fit. So maybe we're not going to talk about the awesomeness of this website at the very bottom. We want to bring it up to the top here, where we can also create those accountabilities for this particular location too as well. So you're reordering it to match the agenda's needs in this location.
That's right.
How you think we're looking here?
It looked good to me, man.
All right, so now we just customize it just a little bit, but you can go so far with that. But before you do any changes, you want to make sure you come over here to the right-hand side and click that save button. If you click there, everything will be locked into place. And if you're not happy with any of the decisions that you've made, you do have the more options button here that will let you reset it back to the default setting. You can start over from scratch if necessary.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna click the X here. And then we're going to go into this Team Awesome meeting, and we're going to go in here and click Start Meeting in the top right-hand corner. This is going to allow the facilitator, the person running the meeting, to actually start it and control the page, because if you are working remote, you're going to be sharing your screen and everyone's going to be watching. But it is encouraged that everyone logs into their account. That way they can participate. So if you do have an issue or concern that you want to bring up later on, you have the opportunity to do that through your page, rather than interrupting that facilitator and say, hey, I have an issue. Can you put this in there for me? Do it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, and this is one of the great things, that as people run more and more Zoom meetings, one of the things we've done is make it so much easier for people to participate in all these different ways, and even to the point where we've got some coaches now that are just putting either like Chromebooks or tablets at the placings for on their around their tables for quarterly meetings, so that everybody will have a not just looking at a screen they're talking and looking at an idea up there, they can look at what's going on in the meeting right here, and they can, oh, I want to make an adjustment here. I want to make a change here. If you bring up a resource like a web-based spreadsheet, they can actually interact with the spreadsheet. If you've got something where you want everyone to put in like a word cloud, if we're doing things like, oh, let's come up with the best way to word this, everyone write down their 10 ideas and hit submit, then you've got an application that can do that. So it creates a great opportunity for me keeping my eyes down here and looking at the people in the room, not looking at the screens anymore.
Right.
Or if I'm remote, I'm participating fully in the meeting. I don't have to ask for someone else to type it in. I'm not just looking.
Right.
I'm actually in the meeting.
Exactly.
So there we are. Look at all that stuff, man.
Yeah, so we have all the stuff now built out. We just set our clear objectives for our agenda. Everyone knows what they're going into. They're not surprised at all because they should be monitoring this information from their actual workspace, their My90 page, and updating everything before they get to the meeting. Okay, so that's really important, everyone. Make sure you update all of your accountabilities as possible. You get your to-dos done, you get your rocks updated, you get your scorecard metrics updated too as well prior to the meeting if possible. That way you can optimize your time with your team and you're not trying to find information while you're actually conducting your meeting, because we should be focused, right?
Let's move to the awesome website section of the meeting.
All right, awesome website. So here's the yep. So just give your heads up.
It pulls that resource in right there, displays it in the screen, and all the prompts are there at the top. So it really, because the notion here is you still want to be able to, in all these 5-minute sections in the weekly meeting, you're scraping those for issues you should talk about. Is everything okay? Hey, what are we thinking about the website today? But typically it wouldn't be this. It would be something, an information resource that you're actually considering. Scorecards are great. Sometimes you're looking at live data. Sometimes you're looking at, gosh, I've seen all kinds of different things people put in meetings.
Monday boards, things like that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we got to, what are the things so you have clear visibility of what we're working on and where the problems are. Because that's the point. Where are all the places I need to go to with this team to scrape out all of the issues and place them on the list so we can prioritize them and deal with them the best way we know how, which is in the issue solving section.
Right. Having everything in one centralized location is perfect. So think of it like a mobile app where you have all these apps all over the place and you just want to put them all into one specific app that's going to do everything that you wanted to do. This way you don't have to dive into another page and kind of look for it. You have it all here to kind of just jump through it and get to work. And everything is interactive too, by the way. Just be mindful that if you aren't facilitating the meeting, make sure that everyone has access to that spreadsheet and make sure it's open for the public to see within that specific team too.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Let's go back. I think there's a couple more things in our deck to go look at. So the thing is, we made it really easy. Obviously, you can create teams, you can create custom agendas, you can put anything in those agendas. But the real point here, Nathan, is that we have this concept we're trying to get to. I mean, ultimately, am I having the right meetings? Am I having the right meeting cadence? Am I having the right meeting discipline, which means all the right people in all the right meetings at the right times? It's the thought that the mental question we ask, are we staying perfectly connected? And perfectly connected is this notion of I'm not separated. I don't feel like I'm like at a loss to what other parts of the other organization are doing, or some other people on my team. I don't feel like I don't know what they're up to, and I don't feel like I'm not confident that I'm doing the right things, they're doing the right things, and I'm not over top of them. So people have enough space to go do what they need to do. We know that motivation, one of the 3 key ingredients to that is autonomy. Everyone feels like they're trusted to go do the things they're supposed to go do, and they have autonomy. No one wants that boss that's over looking their shoulder all the time, or another team member. Staying perfectly connected. It's like, how little time and energy can I put into being connected to keep me perfectly connected? Because then that's when I'm really most efficient. That's what an efficient meeting will get me to the place where, hey, I'm feeling pretty confident. I know what you're working on. Things are running well. I feel like I've been able to ask you questions and tell you what I'm working on, so you know it and you understand it. That's the where we're trying to get to. Perfectly connected is the place we're trying to get to with our meeting discipline. So that means right meetings, right teams, right agendas, right cadence.
Right.
Perfectly connected circles. My team uses me because I say it so often. Jim, I'm not feeling perfectly connected today. I said, I understand what that means. Let's talk about that. That's an issue. Let's go solve it.
All right, you want to go to the next slide?
Let's go.
All right, let's do it.
So when meetings fail, so we've got all this great stuff we share with everybody about how to run great meetings. But these are the things you may be doing that really lead to not great meetings. Surprises on the agenda. So there really is no value in not giving people a chance to prepare for what's going to happen. So to slug a section into a meeting where everyone's kind of feels back on their heels puts them in the worst possible place to participate, to give free and open feedback, to show up as their best selves. So you shouldn't have meetings where there are surprises. Give people a chance to prepare appropriately and feel like that they know why they're there before they walk in the door. Too many people in the meeting. So the number that we work with typically, Nathan, is 7 people. 7 people working together around a table or in a Zoom meeting is a great size for making sure that we can all kind of keep track of each other and operate as a team. When you get much bigger than that, 8, 9, somewhere about 10, it is definitely no longer a team, it is a crowd.
Right.
What you have is a certain, either people are not going to find enough time to talk about what they want to talk about. People are not going to feel comfortable sharing. You find the changes in people's personality, the variations really play out, and you end up with people behaving like they're in a crowd as opposed to they're on a team. So it really helps a lot to think about that when you looking at your accountability or responsibility chart. As you start to look at how many people are reporting up to a certain person, there's only so much time too. So if you're going to have a number of reports and you have meetings with those reports, gosh, it made me think about breaking into 2 teams. We just did this with the team I'm on here at 90. We had a giant quarterly last quarter. There's 11 of us, something like that. We added more people. We broke it apart. So there's a leadership team. So there's like 3 or 4 of us were that thing. And then we all have teams that report up to us. And we met with those teams. And those were all shorter meetings. So it didn't take as long to get through. Everyone felt like they were heard. Everyone felt like they had a chance to talk through their stuff.
Right.
The wrong people, don't invite people to meetings unless you know why they're there, and they're going to know why they're there, right? And for teams, chances are it's already baked in the wall that we already know why. We're all going to be together as a team. It's part of the structure of the organization. We have to be working together. For all of these project teams, don't just throw people in so they got visibility. We've been talking about RACI quite a bit here at 90, that idea that people are responsible, accountable, consulted, or informed. Those informed people probably don't need to be at the meeting. They can get a loom at the end of the quarter, and they'll be fine with that. Figure out who really needs to be there, whose time am I going to really find valuable, whose insights I really want to be part of this. The in and out. Oh my God, man, I hate this part. When people show up at the meeting, this goes along with the no camera and mute on. When people just pop out and pop back in at our meetings, and I know EOS teaches this, I teach this in my practice. We're all trying to have the same experience. So don't pop out of the meeting without telling us you're leaving. And if you pop out, what we try to say is that we break together. So if you need a break, and I tell people, it's not just about having a bio break. It's like, hey, I'm having a hard time concentrating. Something's going on. I need to step away. And we all say, let's all take a break. Let's give a chance to come back, because we want everyone's full focus. Because otherwise you are wasting people's time. If you don't have a quorum, if you can't make good decisions, then because you don't have all the right people in the meeting, it's not as valuable of a meeting. Sometimes it's unavoidable. We go on vacation, we get sick, sure. But those little moments where people are in and out and you don't even know why, it's just confusing for everybody. Think about meeting time as sacred time. We have to get this stuff done. This is our focus time together as a team, our collaboration time. Treat it as such.
And the in and out section, does that fall into like maybe someone had their phone out too as well, or maybe someone's talking or whatever the case may be, having side conversations?
Yes. I mean, sometimes it's unavoidable. Life happens and we offer people grace, but it should be the exception, not the rule. Your rule should be, I'm fully present, I'm fully available, I'm fully focused on what you're doing, and I'm doing everything I possibly can to make sure that nothing interrupts that. That is your role as a member of the team, as a person at the meeting. I'm going to give you this time. If I don't think time's valuable, I'm not coming back again. And I'm going to tell you, truthful, specific, and positive. Hey, man, I don't know why I was there. It was a really poorly constructed meeting. It doesn't seem like it's a good use of my time. I'm not going to go until unless you can tell me why I'm there, right? And I know it's gonna be viable. And these will all go really into the no ground rules perspectives. I mean, that's almost the de facto rule. Having ground rules for how you run your meetings helps everyone prepare mentally, physically, and structurally, right? The tactical realities of meeting. Do I have all the right information here? Have I thought about this? Am I prepared to share? Having ground rules is the point. So our tool can't help you with that. Our tool can help you embed those ground rules in what you're doing, but you got to structure your own ground rules. Book reports. Our meetings aren't about you coming and reporting on everything you've done. If you're speaking at the meeting, it's because you know the ground rules for when you speak. I'm sharing something, I'm asking a question, clarifying question. Like quite often the shares are supposed to be something very simple, like we're in solving mode. Like, hey, I have this experience that I think is relevant to coming up with a solve on this. You report there. You can tell me what it is so we all can understand it. But if we get down to your rock, you're saying, oh yeah, I've been working, this is what I accomplished this week, this is what I'm gonna do next week, this is the thing. Like, no. On track or off track, that's the point. So don't give me a report. The last one we'll talk about is Zoom fatigue. Zoom fatigue is a very real thing. As I talked about, we look at faces, we're not used to seeing each other this close. And that makes us more tired. It makes us, it's a somewhat intense human experience to be looking at people this close. I just know that. So in my meetings, when I'm facilitating meetings, I've got 2 time spans. I think about 40 minutes to an hour. It depends on my teams. Whereas I break when we're in person. I try to break at least once an hour for 5 minutes. When I'm on Zoom, I bring it down to 20 to 30 minutes if I can. Sometimes I got a short meeting, it's an hour, it's 2 hours. We're not gonna have a time for a break in there. We need to get stuff we need to get done. But if it's gonna be a longer meeting, I'm gonna put 1 or 2 breaks in there. And I start looking for people, once we've been there for 20 minutes, are they paying attention? Are they popping out? Because you gotta be looking for that. Hey, it seems like maybe I'm not getting your full attention. Let's take a break. Because things happen in people's lives and we can't always show up as our best selves. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to really be present. So we need to accommodate Zoom fatigue.
All right. No camera mute on.
No camera mute on. I'll say it a third time. Open your cameras, get your cameras on, open your mics so you're really here. That makes it a meeting. If you don't get that true, it's not a meeting. Don't kid yourself.
All right. So let's go to the last slide here.
The super awesome features in the Narrating Meeting tool. So I just wanted to point out that we do have a way, all the things I talked about from disciplines are in the tool. You've got a chance to work with them inside the tool. Consistent agendas per team. Every team can have their own separate, consistent agenda. By consistent, I don't mean it never changes. I'm just saying it isn't changed randomly. It isn't changed per meeting. You set it up in there. You get a chance to figure out what the right meeting structure is and what the right components of the meeting are for you to get done. You're asking the right questions. All the right people are there. You get all the right answers. Get as many teams as you want. So if you've got variations on topics you need to have, people collaborations, build those teams out. See how that goes. And ultimately, the test of all this all the time is, are we staying perfectly connected? All the right things in the meeting, custom sections and 90 tools, all the tools will eventually be available to be slotted into meetings, right? We've got, I know we've added vision in there. You can add that in there anytime. The tool belt or the toolbox and the and mastery are coming soon in that. So add any tool in there so we can look at it, think about it is a great way. And then, but anything from anywhere else, all those websites. And if you have a tool that doesn't show up in our tool as an iframe, let us know. We work with companies quite often to get iframe enabled between us and them, and it's a relatively simple thing for us to turn on. It's a simple thing for them to turn on. But if you have resources you want to be able to get access to in your meeting, let us know and we can make it happen.
Absolutely.
Everyone in the meeting. So know that when people if everyone logs into 90, they can join the meeting inside the tool, collaborate fully, add issues, make comments. And be able to add stuff that's important to them. So, come on, when we're creating an issue, the facilitator, the scribe is going to go through and add notes to the issue. But if you're not the scribe, you can go down and add your own notes in it. So, I want to remember this about this, especially if you've got like a work in progress issue. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to solve it today. We don't have enough information. I want to take my Jim Havlin notes in there. And so I can add my own Jim Havlin notes to that. It shows up, Jim Havlin wrote this at this time, at this place. And it's just part of the notes of the meeting. So there's a lot of tools there for you to collaborate on things. And issue scoring and sorting, it's really important to make sure you're focusing on the most urgent important things in a meeting. And we give you a number of tools to look at issue scoring and sorting. Maybe we should go back and look at that on the tool really quickly. I think that's an important part. So let's create a couple issues for us. And
I'd say do a thing. We'll create that issue going into the short term by default. So when you're in your actual meeting, any issue that you create, everyone is going to go into the short-term issues by default. So just be mindful that if it's actually a long-term issue that you want to push into maybe next quarter or something like that. Add your description. This who section is going to let you know the person, maybe the place, or even a customer or employee, whatever the case may be. You can place that individual into this seat, and that we can reference it in your actual issue. And right now it's going to default to the team awesome. So if it belongs there, make sure you put it to that location, and then you want to prioritize it as always. Just help saves time in your meeting with your team. So if you do have quite a few issues on this list, we already have a priority setting that we set to it. Maybe this is really important, so we'll give it a 5. And then from there, we can go ahead and create that issue and place it on that list. Anyone who's an attendee here who has an active account can create those issues for the team, okay? So we'll create a couple more here. I'm just going here.
I just realized I should be logged in so I can join the meeting too.
Something else awesome. And I can't spell, so give me a break. All right. And then come here, I'm gonna prioritize this issue here, create one more. Let's see here, and we can do one more thing. Now you can see here, all these issues are defaulting to me. So if I have something to say with that issue, it's going to put my name to it. So it looks like I have a lot of issues here, like magazines. So not a bad thing. If you don't have any issues, I always say that is an issue in itself. So definitely keep it populated.
No issues, it's an issue.
So definitely keep populated with as much information as possible.
Yeah, so so here's the thing. So we can create these issues. Quite often when if I'm creating issues from somewhere else, I don't take the time to actually score them. The way that I teach scoring, Nathan, I know you've heard a dozen different ways of doing about it. I say that 5s are things that I sometimes reserve 5s for things that are about company or department rocks. 4s are things that are about rocks. 3s are things that we have to talk about today. 2s are things that we'll talk about if we have time, and 1s are things that, hey, I'm not quite ready to talk about that yet. Other folks just make it 5s are the things I have to talk about today, and then it works down from there. But you should come up with a standardization. It's part of the rules you should set for yourself. But how do I think I want to prioritize things? And then I create myself a list. And then if you've got a whole bunch of stuff in here, you also have the ability to go through and number them and sort them that way. And that is a more classic EOS way. Hey, pick 3, push them to the top. We're going to solve those, and we'll pick 3 more. So you got a couple of different ways of sorting issues in here to make sure that you're working on the most urgent and important things.
Right. So essentially, just give everyone heads up, when you're breaking these issues down, you're adding details to it. You're not just talking about it. So maybe you have a scribe, maybe that facilitator is actually adding details to it too as well, but you're filling out the description so you can come up with some type of resolve for it, okay? And that includes utilizing this more actions button here to create to-dos from that issue, rocks maybe, if that's the case. If it needs to be cascaded to another team, you have that option there to give them eyes on that specific issue. If it's not meant for this particular quarter to be done, let's put it on the back burner. Let's put it on that parking lot list of the VTO. We'll leave it there. And if, say, for example, this issue is not even for this leadership team. Maybe it's for my marketing team. I'm going to send it to that team and we'll take care of it, okay? So it's a lot of options you can do here, including leaving comments here. So if someone does leave a comment in association with that particular issue or to do whatever the case may be, we can address it here. But typically the person who is accountable should be making all the details or the updates to this particular accountability. And then we can address those comments there in the bottom.
Yeah, so there you go. So I mean, you're working on it in the notes section or the description section. I can be adding comments. You can add attachments. A lot of things you can do here to collaborate when you're open in the meeting. And you see my lovely little picture in the upper right-hand corner there to say, yep, this meeting right here. Cool.
Yep. But yeah, so essentially just to wrap things up a little bit here, conduct your meeting. Everyone's going to have their standard operational procedure, right? Jim mentioned his way of prioritizing the issues and also conducting his meetings, setting the agenda for each type of team. You may have your own too as well. So definitely talk it over with your team and make sure it's going to be, concise for you all, for the whole entire organization as a whole. Remember, having a set amount of people in those particular meetings will definitely help move the needle forward and also help everyone participate in those meetings as well. Okay.
These are the rituals of the organization. It's worth taking them seriously and to get the most out of them. There's some good decisions you can make, and as long as everyone's in agreement, right? We want to take expectations into agreements. Then you can have a discipline, a culture of great meetings.
Yep. And after this too, everyone, I'm going to send out a survey here for you all to fill out. Please fill that information out. Well, there will be links in the description too when this is placed onto the public site. That being said, definitely thank you all for showing up, who did show up, participating and watching our webinar. Just keep in mind, we're going to have this every third Thursday of each month. I'm going over different tools, so that information will be down in the description as well. Anything else to add, Jim, before we let them go?
No, it's always a great time with you, Nathan. But meeting tools, folks, dig into this one. This is the one that really where people start to feel the value of the operating system. So we encourage you to spend time here, and we're happy here to help. Let us know if we can help in any way.
All right. Thanks again, Jim. And I'll see you all next month. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, don't forget about this little chat bubble in the bottom right-hand corner. We have a team of people waiting to help you out, and it is all free for you to utilize. So if you need to get access to another webinar, if you need to set up an appointment with a client success manager, or even just chat with one of us from the client success chat, they have you covered, and they'll answer your questions appropriately and get you to where you need to be. Other than that, have a great rest of your week.